Hey, what's going on, guys? So today it's going to be a little more of a casual, less scripted video. We're going to take a look at the comments section in reaction to the Temtem price reveal. So for those of you who don't know, the price of the early access is going to be $39.99 for us Canadians, or $35.99 for our neighbors in the States. The Temtem Twitter has the pricing info for various regions, so if you want to see your pricing, make sure to check it out. So I wanted to touch on some of the reactions regarding the price tag and sort of vent about the blatant hypocrisy that I've seen within the gaming community as a whole, especially with regards to this game. The intention of this video is not to shill for Crema or to bash anyone in particular. It's just to step back and analyze what we were getting for that $40 price tag. So for the sake of context, I want to keep everyone in mind that I'm Canadian and my specific price tag is that of $40, whereas full price titles like Luigi's Mansion, Mario Odyssey, Pokemon Sword and Shield, etc. would release at an $80 price tag. Now, given all that, please keep in mind that my experience with actually playing Temtem is solely based off of the time I played the stress test, which we all know was run to specifically break the servers. So yes, there was a lot of issues with tons of server crashes and loadout issues and etc. But that's a point of the stress test. So I'm going to be looking at this from a perspective that the servers will run similarly to that of what they did in the alpha and what I've seen from alpha gameplay. So in a video where I'm going to be essentially defending Temtem's price tag, I thought I'd give you guys my angle right from the start. So I personally think that if you're going to pay $80 for Pokemon Sword and think that that is worth your money, but Temtem is over asking, then you're lacking a level of logical consistency to at least some extent. The reason I compare Sword and Temtem, or Sword and Shield and Temtem, is because of the fact that a lot of people on Twitter and other social media platforms tend to do the same. And the similarities between Pokemon and Temtem are obvious. So Pokemon Swish is what I'm going to be calling Sword and Shield, SWSH, got it? Okay. If you run through the story, it'll take you about 18 hours, give or take. I beat it in about that much time. And besides running through the main story, all there is to really do is raid, which, and this is my opinion, is extremely tedious, or catch every Pokemon and explore the wild area, but other than catching Pokemon, there's not really much to do in the wild area. The wild area is a cool idea on the surface, but it sort of gets repetitive quite easily, and it's bogged down by the terrible pop-in. The point I'm trying to make here is that there isn't a whole lot of content outside of the main story, and the areas are quite small with the exception of the wild area. In Temtem, and I can't 100% confirm this because I haven't played enough of it to get through it myself, but I did ask on the Discord to people who have played the alpha, and the general consensus, with the exception of a couple trolls, is somewhere above 25 hours. And the reason I say trolls is because I asked people how long did it take them to get to the alpha, and one guy said 2 hours. So obviously he's joking when it took everyone else like 25. This person, Digital, says each island takes about 10 to 15 hours, and we have to remember there are 3 islands. TM Trainer says it was about 40 to 50 if you take care of the side quests. Tasty says 20 to 30. Luca says she's been playing for over 80 hours, but keep in mind that she did also say that she's not done Luma hunting, but she has done a lot of the side stuff. So just for a comparison, I have a friend who decided to, and I've done living dexes in the past, but I have a friend who decided to do a living dex in Sword and Shield, and it took him about 70 hours without any sort of rushing. What I'm trying to say here is that the sheer number of monsters does not necessarily make a game better, especially when the product that does have more monsters has very little else going for it. Sure, 400 creatures is a lot, and hell, 890 is even better. But when the games suffer due to the sheer amount of creatures, and then when said creatures are cut in half to increase the quality of said game, and said game's quality isn't truly increased, then we have a bit of an issue. Temtem, on the other hand, will launch with about half of the 160 Temtem, but will fill that void with true side quests and more expansive areas to explore. That's why people were upset about the Dex call. The Dex was called and we gained nothing. For every feature that we've gained, we've lost. Temtem also created all of these models from scratch, unlike certain developers that have access to more resources than any other game company in the history of the world. But anyways, I could whine about the direction that Pokemon has gone for days, and realistically it probably won't change. The DLC looks slightly promising, but I won't get my hopes up, and I'm not entirely thrilled about the price considering Swish already launched half-baked. So with all that being said, let's check out some of the tweets and respond to them. Now, just a quick disclaimer, please don't harass any of these people. I know they're public tweets and can be found on Twitter easily, but I don't want to direct any shade towards them. Anyways, let's get into it. So this guy Solid Bold says, wait, I thought this was supposed to be free to play. You already got backed from a Kickstarter and now you're going to charge $35 for an early access game? What the F? Okay, so firstly, I've never heard anyone once say that it was a free to play game. And just because they were backed by a Kickstarter doesn't mean everyone else gets the game for free. Do you expect them to just hand out free copies to every single person that wants it? If you donated above a certain amount, you do get the game for free, so what's your poison? I can't believe how ridiculous this post is. Lalale says, too bad the price will make this game poor of players. Honestly, we saw the quality and it's a fun game, but how can you compete with Pokemon with this price? Still good for you if you want to sell this. So firstly, $40 is $10 less than a 3DS game. 3DS games go for $50 here. So to answer your question, it has more content than a Switch title at half the price. That's how it will compete. Togepi writes, welp, there goes my Christmas saving money. Now this is probably a joke, but I thought I'd throw it in here because it's funny. Given the tone of a lot of people reacting to the news, I'm not so sure it's a joke, but probably is. But all I can say is I am extremely sorry that you only got $40 for Christmas. Apollo Gaming states, no thanks, too pricey, not buying, enjoy the game everyone. So please explain to me how $40 is too pricey when Switch is $80 and is less complete. If you're going to say, well, Switch is also overpriced, then please explain how Temtem, besides the fact that it has less monsters, is not even worth $10 less than Sun and Moon. Games that are a clear downgrade both graphically and content-wise from Temtem. Rion states, I would probably pay 25 USD for this game during early access, but 30 to 35 for full release. Now this guy's just stating his opinion, but I must say Temtem has enough content in the early access alone to rival Switch as a complete title. So saying you'd only pay $30 for double that, aka around 60 to 80 hours of story / side quests, is kind of snapping, especially if you're willing to pay $50 for the 3DS titles, let alone $80 for the Switch titles. Jackalope states, I don't know, I was hoping it would be $15 to $20 for early access. At least this seems more reasonable than $35. Again, it's just an opinion. He's not saying anything stupid. He's just expressing himself. But I do believe it is quite reasonable. Again, remember that the game is only $40. It's cheaper than a 3DS title and half the price of a Switch title, despite having more content, possibly than both combined. ReZero states, I tried playing during the stress test, but keep on getting stuck when I press any key screen. I waited around for 10 minutes on the screen while my wife played and then tried again to face the same problem multiple times. This is a common issue. So this person clearly didn't read the email that Crema sent about the stress test. My guess is that they don't even know what a stress test is. The server crashes are supposed to happen during a stress test in order to push the servers to their boundaries. This isn't really complaining about the price per se, but it was a comment on the price reveal, likely implying that the game isn't worth it due to such issues. And then this guy, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, says 30 euros for this. We will see the second stress test, but at the moment the game is shit unplayable. So again, this person clearly doesn't know what a stress test is and is just talking out of his butt. That's why he said shit. So this person, Nugget, says, isn't that a little much for early access? It's an unfinished game and I don't know when it will be finished. So here he's complaining that the game is finished, which again is truly ironic because it has more content in it than Pokemon Sword and Shield. And I didn't see this guy complaining about that $80 price tag when those games were announced. So in another conversation, you see Nugget here, as well as some other people talking. So Ninny says, for those saying the price is too much, it really isn't. I played the alpha and it is well worth the money. There's only about half the content out and yet you get the other half of content for free. 10 out of 10 games so far, definitely recommended. This sadistical person says people who think $35 is too expensive are probably too young for employment or refuse to work. Just a funny comment. Nugget, the guy we just saw before, says if that's what you want to spend your money on, then fair enough. I don't think that there's any shame in wanting to spend full retail price on a game that is at least a year away from being finished. For a full game, sure. But for an unfinished product that may bug out, I don't know. Then this person, sadistical, says, full retail price, acting like they're charging $60 US. Nugget, it's almost the same price as a Pokemon game. Why? Sadistical, it's 41% cheaper than a Pokemon game. Now, I think Nugget's referring to the 3DS games, whereas Sadistical is referring to the Switch games. Temtem can't be compared to a 3DS game. Temtem is far beyond anything the 3DS can handle. You can see the difference between Sun and Moon and Temtem, and it's not even a comparison. Like, Sun and Moon can't handle half of... Sun and Moon's runs in like 480p or something like that. So you're going to want to compare it at least to Swish. And the fact that it's cheaper than Sun and Moon just makes me laugh that people are complaining. Nugget responds for, except Pokemon is a huge franchise and has been going for years, and the latest, most expensive finished game came out as 45. I think that's euros. I'm not even sure what currency that is. But here it's 80. I'm not saying Temtem doesn't deserve to be its price. It just seems like a lot at the moment since the game isn't finished. So this is the biggest piece of irony I've ever seen in my life. So he's complaining that Temtem isn't finished, which, okay, fine, granted it's not, but at least the developers are saying, yeah, it's not finished, but it still has more content than Sword and Shield. Interesting. And then he's trying to say that Pokemon was worth its price, or at least implying it is because he wasn't complaining about it. So he's saying Pokemon's worth $80 when it only takes 18 hours to beat, but Temtem, with 20 to 30 hours of campaign and side quests in just the first half, that's not worth it. I understand the concerns with perhaps glitches and whatnot, but this is the discount price, and to be honest, based on what we've seen of Temtem, it could honestly justify a full launch title price when it fully comes out. With $600,000, Crema made a game that is comparable with a AAA title, which I wouldn't even consider Pokemon a AAA title, but still, it's being compared to what's considered a AAA title from a company that's worth $90 billion. So you can see this is kind of the mentality of a lot of people complaining about the price, saying it's a full price game, even though it's not. It's in early access and has around the same amount of content as it in Swish, if not more, and it's only 50% complete. Yet so many people were shilling at it for Sword and Shield out of blind love for the franchise rather than being able to step back and justify the price. It's kind of like those people that buy blank t-shirts for like $50 just because they say Nike or something on the tag. People are just willing to pay more for Pokemon just because it's Pokemon, even if it's not a quality game. Whereas Temtem, people are complaining because it's sort of like a no-name brand. I haven't been able to play enough of Temtem to without a doubt justify the price tag. It's just not logical to firmly state that it's better than Sword and Shield without a doubt, as I've only played one and not the other. I can, however, state from what I have played, Temtem was able to capture my attention and love right from the start, and I can't wait for it to release. That's something that I did not feel playing Swish. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. $35 US or $40 Canadian. Is that too expensive? Or do you think that I've at least made, in part, a compelling enough argument to justify said price tag? Just make sure to remember, guys, that there's only 5 more days until the early access launch, so please make sure to subscribe for daily content leading up to the release. And until next time, peace.